Well, thank you very much, Mr Chair. We are looking at the Tourism Board performance and the report of the committee on that. And it's quite clear, Mr Chair, when we look back to the heady days after the 2008 election when the Prime Minister became the Minister for Tourism, and he talked of a bold plan for tourism in New Zealand and a clear vision for tourism, that we make the most of our advantages and seize the opportunities they provide. Yet, Mr Chair, what we see from the State of the Tourism Sector Report 2012, from the Tourism Board's own statement of intent, is an industry that is stagnating. It's an industry that is simply no longer providing the boost to New Zealand's economy that it once did. But this was, of course, the very reason the Prime Minister told us he wanted to take the portfolio on, that he would be this great leader to drive the tourism industry forward. And instead, all we got were cheesy jokes on the Letterman show and a bad video in the back of a car in Napier. That was about the extent of the vision, the bold plan that the Tourism Minister, John Key, was going to bring forward to us. But then we got a new plan for tourism for New Zealand in this last financial year, and currently ongoing, a new plan for tourism, the building of a convention centre in Auckland. Now, this was the great blueprint, the great vision that would provide New Zealand's tourism boost. And there are probably some good arguments for a convention centre in the Auckland area. But a convention centre built on what basis, Mr Chair? And I know the Prime Minister is fond of top 10 lists, as he did on the Letterman show. So in terms of tourism and its future for New Zealand, I think we could take a top 10 list of reasons why the Sky City pokey deal for the convention centre is in fact not the way forward for New Zealand. So reason number one on our top 10 list. The Problem Gambling Foundation says Sky City's host responsibility is poor and fuels problem gambling. The casino had 54 incidents of deserted children last year, 25 cases of fraud and 14 assaults. So there's reason number one on our top 10 list. But we can go on, Mr Chair. Goldman Sachs has estimated that Sky City will earn an extra $28 million a year on the additional pokie machines that are part of the deal, rising to $42 million a year once the convention centre is running. That's the payoff here. The legislation gets sold off. So that's reason number two for us to not like this deal for supposed tourism. Another one is the question of how many jobs will be created. Now, the Prime Minister was very keen to tell us 1,000 jobs in the tourism industry, 1,000 jobs, overstated by more than half. Overstated by more than half. So that's reason number three, Mr Chair. Back to the gambling side of things. Casinos return only 2.5% of their profits to the community. 2.5%. So extra machines going in, supposedly to bolster the tourism industry. The payoff is more pokie machines, and the payoff of that is money out of people's pockets who can't afford it, and only 2.5% back to the community, Mr Speaker. We can go on. Reason number four. I'm up to four. I think I'm up to four. Based on Goldman Sachs estimates, there could be a loss of revenue for community organisations from anywhere from $10 million a year upwards. That's the outcome of selling off legislation supposedly to benefit tourism in New Zealand, but actually to benefit Sky City. But, Mr Speaker, we can go on. Reason number six for this not being a good idea, the dodgy way this deal was done, Mr Chair. The fact that the Minister of Tourism intervened in a process that was part way through and said, forget all the other bidders, I've done the deal over dinner. So there's reason number five for us. Reason number six, the other bids that were on the table from people like Lloyd Morrison, rest his soul, were bids that did not require the selling off of legislation for New Zealand. That's another reason, Mr Chair. Reason number 8 around this is that Mr John Key, the Minister of Tourism, has told New Zealanders that it's okay to sell off legislation, that should be part of the deal of being in government. That is just plain wrong, Mr Chair, to have that kind of approach to funding tourism in New Zealand. This government knows this convention deal is a dodgy one. It's one where the Minister of Tourism, the Prime Minister John Key, has intervened in a process, allowed a non-complying bid to go forward. And we now see the situation, Mr Chair, where we have A dodgy deal that will not do what it says it will do for jobs, that will not do what it says it will do for tourism.
The question is that the report of the Commerce Committee on the 2010-11 financial review of the New Zealand Tourism Board be noted. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no, the ayes have it. I understand that the next entity members wish to debate is the Reserve Bank of New Zealand under the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee. So the question is that the report on finance and expenditure... Todd McClay.
Mr. Chair.